Looking into our own forecast here through the Carolinas. Nice to see the sun out once again as we begin this work week, but I think you're saying winter is not yet over.
It's true, Jane. And Charleston, unfortunately, is in a unique spot, where they sit below sea level in a lot of spots. There was a lot of heavy rain, which of course led to flooding. And then on top of that, they had onshore winds. So it was just a combination of kind of the perfect storm for all of that absurd amounts of flooding, really, and that river district there. Now, today was really a phenomenal day. So hopefully you're able to get outside. We had lower 60s for most of the area, lots of sunshine. It looks extra bright outside, and you may be thinking, how is it almost 6:15? Well, of course, it's because of our sunrise sunset change we had overnight. New sunset time 7:28. So this time yesterday it would have been 5:15. So now we've of course jumped ahead an hour. So just keep that in mind and make sure those clocks are set around the house and you are not confused, of course, heading into the work week. No one wants to be late to work, of course, or anywhere else heading into the first work week, or I guess the second work week of March. I'm getting all my dates mixed up. Now, you notice there from our Charlotte Motor Speedway camera that it was a little bit breezy. Oftentimes our cameras that are a little bit more elevated do start to shake a little bit more, even on just a typical breezy day, which is what we had with gusts around 30 miles per hour in Charlotte. But in the mountains, those wind gusts have peaked close to 55, 65 miles per hour. And that's why there's a high wind warning in effect here for those potentials for more 60+ mile per hour wind gusts heading into the overnight time frame. Now, these winds are gusting really high because of that cold front that moved through the area overnight, and they will still stay elevated overnight and heading into tomorrow morning. Now, I'm likely expecting these to not peak closer to that 64 mile per hour range anymore. That was likely going to be the peak that they'll see, but I mean, well into tomorrow morning, still expecting the 50s before generally tapering off. So you can see this as we go hour by hour. Even our wind gusts locally here in the Charlotte area will taper off, but notice here, still very, very elevated for the mountains. Now, I show you this here to note that our winds start to drop off very quickly overnight. That will impact tonight's forecast. So while the mountains are going to still see very, very high winds and temperatures in the 20s, here across most of the area, when we get to the foothills, down toward the Charlotte metro area, into the Piedmont and the Sandhills, you'll notice that the winds are much lighter. Well, when you have light winds, a clearer sky, and oftentimes a wet ground here, you get a lot of cold air that pools closer to the ground. This is called radiational cooling. It allows for cold temperatures to really dig in, and that's why we're expecting tonight to see the potential for temps getting close to the freezing mark, even right here in Charlotte. It's a good reminder that we can oftentimes see frost freezes well into not just March, all the way into April. In fact, our latest frost and freezes in Charlotte are into the month of May. But, when we have really warm winters, we almost seem to forget that. We want to plant and garden early. It's fun, right, when we're already in the 70s in March. But here's the plant watch the next 2 mornings. Tonight, my official forecast in Charlotte, 32. Tuesday morning, 34. So 2 mornings where frost is likely. And tonight, the potential for a light freeze. So please be mindful of that. Now, even though we do have these colder temperatures, the pollen level is still very elevated the next 2 days because just because it's cold in the mornings doesn't mean the afternoon temperatures are going to be cold too. In fact, in your Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, tomorrow 63. We are very quickly warming back into the 70s by Tuesday. So the afternoon temps are rebounding quickly. Upper 70s for our warmest day on Thursday before our next chance of rain arrives as we head into next weekend. This storm system doesn't look to linger too much. We'll see some spotty showers here and there, but certainly not a washout, Jane. And really, as we look into the extended forecast, there's a few afternoons that could be a little bit cooler than average. But I mean, when you're talking about the lower 60s, which is where we should be, versus, 77.
Totally warm.
In the near term, the warmth, I think, will really outweigh the fact that a few nights maybe could be.
I feel like a lot of people are going to be hitting the golf course this week.
I think so,
In
but
the later
hopefully they
hours.
have their jackets early.
Okay.
And those layers, because when it starts off at 32,
Right.
and you're in the
All over the
70s by
place.
the afternoon, you got to shed some layers.
Yeah,